Hi there, this is Bob Hatton. This is the Encourager. I'm very happy that you've joined us today. God bless you. And after we've been through the Beatitudes, we've seen what Jesus said to the people who were listening to him. He was just taking account. Who are these people who are in front of me? They're the poor in spirit. They are the pure in heart. They are the peacemakers, and so on. And then he goes on to talk about the parameters of the kingdom of God. And he says to these guys, he says, you are the salt of the earth. You are the light of the world. And they're two different things, but they're things that change the way that we live. You know, salt in the old days, it was used to put into meat so that the meat wouldn't go bad, so that you could keep the meat and eat it. Later they would, over the winter, they would keep this meat and it kept it fresh. It kept it edible for quite a long time. Now, when I look into our society, I'm talking about European society, but perhaps it's the same in different parts of the world. When I look into the European society, I see things today that we take for granted, but when I look in history, I see that people from the kingdom of God fought for these things. Let me tell you about a man called August Hermann Francke. Maybe he's not well known in the English-speaking world. He was a German. He was one of the first pietists. He loved Jesus. He lived for him, and he was a pastor in a Lutheran church. I think he was in the city called Erfurt, and his employers were not happy with him, and they sent him away to another place. And the other place they sent him was to a city called Halle in the eastern part of Germany. Now, his predecessor had also been fired and sent away. And so this guy, Francke, he comes into the city. This is at the end of the 17th century, 1690 something. And when he gets there, he's appalled because he sees so many street children. And he starts to minister to these street children. And first of all, he takes them in and he gives them somewhere to sleep in his house. Later, he started a children's home. But first of all, he takes them into his house. And then he starts a school for them, for boys and for girls. And during those days, when children learned anything, the teacher would say something and the children would repeat it. Now, at about the same time, I think it was 1702, Francke and his church, together with a missionary society in Denmark, they sent out two missionaries to South India, what's today Tamil Nadu. These were some of the very first Protestant missionaries that ever left Europe in modern times, nearly 100 years before William Carey went to India. Now, when they got there, everything was strange for them, and strange culture, and they kept in contact with home. And every month they would send parcels and they'd send stuff home. They would send pots and pans, musical instruments. They would even send stuffed animals. And the people back home, they'd never seen anything like this before. And it was very, very interesting. Now, Francke, he took these objects and he used them in his lessons. He changed the way that children were being taught, and they started to learn much better. They could get a hold of these things. They learned about these animals which they'd never seen before. But they would teach them about them. They'd teach about other cultures and so on. And this was a great success. He even started a university later, and girls and boys could go to this university. It was so great. He was much farther ahead of his times, and he actually changed the way children are taught in Germany and probably in Europe as well. And this still has an outworking today. This is still something that has influence today. He was a Christian. He was somebody from the kingdom of God. He was salt. He was the salt of the earth. And this salt it's still working. It still has its saltiness, even these many hundred years later. What I want to encourage you about is that whatever you are doing, don't give up too soon, because some things that we do, it just takes a long time, but it has a long outworking. It brings fruit many years later and for many years. But the other thing that Jesus said was, you are the light of the world. And light is sometimes something that is very spontaneous. You switch it on, there's light, you can find orientation, it switches off. Now we do have as things that we do, things where we can make influence, what takes a long time, but in other places we just have a very quick encounters with people, and we just have maybe one chance to tell them something, one chance to share our values with them, one chance to tell them about the redemption in Jesus Christ. And that's what we should do. That's light, that's giving, showing the way ahead. And maybe the people follow that way, or maybe they forget it. But we are both. We are the salt of the earth, which means a long process, something that we invest our lives into, change things, to invest things. But also we are the light, which means that it's just something short where we just switch on the light, short orientation, or we stand on a far away and people can see us and they orientate their lives on us. We as good examples. So God bless you. Have a good day. I look forward to speaking to you tomorrow. God bless you. You're Bob Hatton, your encourager.